This deliverable is a Word document that we use to package everything into one place for the deans to review and to help us build your course in Blackboard. Let's walk through this to show you what's expected. First, anywhere you see the pound signs highlighted in pink, you should enter your data or content. Provide the identifying information in these top 5 lines, and then enter the week number. So here I've identified this as the CJ402 class, and this is going to be week 1. The next section is a review of the IRA map that you completed earlier. The purpose for including it again here is to explicitly communicate to the student what they are expected to learn. Using the course objectives, simply indicate what will be introduced, what will be reinforced, and what will be assessed during that week. For CJ402, there are 3 overarching course objectives that will be introduced. It doesn't look like we're going to reinforce anything because it is just the first week. And then we are going to assess 2 of those overarching course objectives through our discussions and assignments. This next section is going to be a weekly list of things to do. Students will see this on Blackboard. It looks like they're going to read chapters 1, 2, and 3 from the textbook, and altogether that would sum up to 92 pages. Looks like they're going to be reading 3 lectures on Blackboard, but altogether that's only 5 pages. They need to watch a video, which will take 11 minutes. Then they're expected to provide a 1-page response to a case study regarding John Benet Ramsey. These are all the preparation activities. Now, let's look at the engagement activities. First, we will address the discussion forums. There are 2 options for the discussion forums this week. It's common practice in the first week of each Grantham course to ask students to introduce themselves to one another. The second discussion prompt asks the students to interact with one another after they look at the landmark case Graham versus Connor. Note, this is only the title for the discussion forum. We will enter the prompts and the discussion instructions later on. For the assignments, we see a similar scenario, just the title of the assignment. Okay, so that's the advanced organizer, or the to-do list, that helps the students plan their time and activities for the week. There is one last thing in this section, and that would be the pink box for summative assessments. Summative assessments may be the midterm or the final exams, or perhaps a project that spans several weeks throughout the course. In this box, we expect to see explicit instructions, questions and answers for the exams, or if you are requiring a project, you will enter the explicit instructions and the deliverables the students must submit each week so that they're making progress on their final project. Now let's move on to the course content. We do want a weekly title, something that will grab students' attention. We can do better than documenting crime scenes. Maybe we could call it something like this: What You'll Never See on the CSI TV Shows. Or you could call it Among the Blood and Gore, What Are Your Duties as an LEO, which stands for Law Enforcement Officer. You get the point. We want this to be something that grabs the students' attention. Now, the weekly objectives are going to come from the textbook, so just feel free to list the weekly objectives. The getting started narrative, that's something that students have been asked to read on the Blackboard page. But we're going to ask you to do some type of recording so that we can meet some different modalities. It makes our course more VIP squared compliant. So what you want to do here is introduce the student to what you expect them to accomplish during the week. But let's jazz it up. Let's pique their interest. Let's make it a little more fun. Do an audio or video presentation. Make a screencast using a PowerPoint slide or some image that represents your weekly topic. Be creative. Use the webcam. Show students what you look like. Let them actually see you. Be sure and write your script first and insert that into this space. I'll highlight that. This should be your script. Then make your recording and submit that file to your ID. Indicate whether you made the recording and whether you've submitted it to your instructional designer. Remember, this deliverable is just as much a checklist to make sure we have all your content as it is a package to be sent for dean review. Now we circle back to those engagement activities, the discussions and the assignments. This is pretty much a cut and paste job since you've already written your discussions and assignments in the previous project period. Now, just a few seconds ago, you listed the title of the discussion forum. Now you're giving us the whole enchilada. You actually want to insert the entire discussion forum instructions and questions. There's question A, there's question B. Now you'll notice that there is a space for a third discussion question, but you don't have to include 3 discussion questions each week. Similarly, you will complete the assignment section just as you did the discussion section. Now here's a tip. If you require students to consult a resource, such as a video clip, we've got one right here, it's good practice to make sure that you include the URL and include the title, the publisher, and the duration of the video clip. Okay, let's take a look at PowerPoint presentations. Let your instructional designer know what you plan to do here. Many SMEs use PowerPoints that are provided by the textbook publishers. It's not required. In fact, some people might argue that PowerPoints are just as boring as lectures. Are you going to use PowerPoints? If not, put your X right here. You simply need to put an X in any of the cells that represent your situation regarding PowerPoints. We're in the home stretch now. This is where you're going to start providing your own content. Now, most SMEs are accustomed to providing written lectures. We're calling this a script for multimedia presentation, however. We want to change that written lecture into a multimedia presentation to fulfill the Universal Design for Learning and VIP² protocol. Now let's scroll through some of the examples of the CJ402 lectures. Abstract, brief history, Lecture 1 with references, Chapter 2 overview, starts with an abstract, ends with references. Chapter 3 overview, starts with an abstract, ends with references. Now these lectures seem to complement, not copy, not replace, what was presented in the textbook. But rather than being written lectures, these could have been conveyed through a webcam presentation or a screencast. Some of the lectures are shorter than others, which is fine because depending on the chapter, you might have more to say, or you might not have much to say at all. Now I do want to make a few points about what we have seen as instructional designers when it comes to written lectures. Sometimes subject matter experts have simply copied and pasted information from the textbook into written lectures. We call that redundancy. Technically, we should call it plagiarism. So here are some things that come to mind if you are thinking of providing a written lecture. Most importantly, if you are outlining or summarizing the textbook chapter in your lecture, that means you are doing all the thinking. When is the student going to do the thinking? We need to make sure we're not spoon-feeding the information to the student. I'd rather see you assign students to outline and summarize the chapter. Unfortunately, the textbook publishers have already done that in many cases. Second, if you are going to copy and paste textbook information into your lecture, what kind of role model are you? You don't expect students to copy and paste when they are providing written lectures in your course. Third, if you copy information from the textbook into your written lecture, why should the student even buy the textbook? Or if they bought it, why should they even read the textbook? Along those same lines, why are we paying you? What value are you providing to this course? Now, that sounds kind of harsh, but it's to prove a point. We want you to dip into your experiences. Share your tales from the field or your war stories. Share real-world problems you've experienced with your students. Ask them to help solve those problems. People respond well to stories. Students are motivated by stories. They learn from stories, and they feel closer to you when they hear your stories. So every story you share is fulfilling our VIP² protocol. Now let's scroll down and see what this template looks like when you first open it in Blackboard. Lots of blank spaces, a lot of pink highlighted pound signs. I should get with the times and call them hashtags. So this is what you'll see. When we get to week 8, we'll show you what the Carnegie table requirements are. You might have to come back and fill out these parts of the deliverable once you understand the Carnegie units. But at this point, we just want you to really think about how you can provide value. What are you going to prompt the student to do? Are you going to get the student to think and process the information? How are you going to get them to form community and interact with one another? That's what the discussion prompts are for. How are you going to get them to integrate knowledge and develop new skills? That's what the assignments are for. What purposes are your PowerPoints serving? PowerPoints can be incredibly boring. So that's why we really want you to think about what you're trying to do with your PowerPoints. Are you going to provide a voiceover or do something else to make the PowerPoints a truly engaging learning activity? Now again, coming back to those written lectures. Think of a way to convert that written lecture into a multimedia presentation. Do a blog, do a screencast, do a webcam capture of yourself talking to your student about your experiences in the field. That's the content we want you to provide. So that's what you'll be working on for the next several weeks until we see you again in week 8. Okay, get busy and good luck.